Narcissists will always put down your friends, especially if you're the scapegoat and you have narcissistic family members. Because, oh wow, well, with me, all three family members, mother, father, and brother, were narcissists. So this was a pattern that started to be noticed in me extremely young. I couldn't bring up a friend's name without having a put down from one of these three individuals. And so you'll notice that early on. And it's a way, first and foremost, it's a way to put you down. That you're never able to have an accomplice, an associate, a friend, anyone that they would say something positive about. And so you just stop sharing people's names and sharing, like you might say, oh, look, I got these pennies from the railroad track yesterday that we had flattened on the railroad track. Well, who'd you go there with? You're like, oh gosh, you don't even want to say because, oh, that kid's a dork. Why do you hang out with him, It's insecurity at the root of it because they don't want you to be able to have anyone to confide in, one. And two, they don't want you to have anyone to be able to hear a different side of things. Or maybe the two of you can be grounded in reality, and say, yeah, this is lame when parents always put you down every time I bring your name up, and they do this to all my friends. My parents do that too. Can't they ever be positive for 1 second about one of our people, I mean, here they're enrolling me on athletic teams, paying money, for me to play baseball every season and soccer every season. So of course I'm going to meet people and they have nothing but bad things to say about every single name I bring up. And then something else that you'll see really, really common is when they first meet someone that they didn't know about was in your life, a friend. Maybe you bring this kid home. And even as a 50-year-old, I'll share a story in a second. Or actually, I was more like 53. But even as a child, you might bring a friend home, and immediately you can see the wheels start churning. Like, okay, how do I need to manipulate this? He's got a new individual in his life, and that's a threat to me. You just bring it home, a little 12-year-old friend that maybe you just met an hour ago and you were playing skateboarding together and you're both thirsty and you want to offer him a glass of milk or lemonade or something. And now all of a sudden you see the wheels churning and they're threatened by this kid you just met an hour ago. It's bizarre. But they'll think, okay, I need to love bomb this child, so let's send my son to go run an errand for me so I can just lavish this kid with love and affection so that he thinks I'm the bee's knees. And then they'll do that, and then you'll hear later the kids say, gosh, your mom is really special, one of a kind. I wish I had a mom like your mom. And then when you get home, you'll hear your mom say, I don't feel very comfortable with that child. Does he come from a broken home? Is he blah, 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 blah? And you're just like, I just met the kid. Can't you let me have one friend for an hour before you lay into debasing their character? It's so tiring. So I met this person before I moved to San Pedro off the internet on my like motorcycle YouTube channel, and we started conversing. And he had just taken a long trip on his Sportster, a small, Harley, to Las Vegas, but I was alone. And so I was like, oh, I can relate to this guy. I've gone to Vegas alone several times, almost always on motorcycles. And we both were into literature. He's a really smart guy, but he was a trust fund baby. And so he had issues. A lot of trust fund babies, the parents are kind of neglectful. The parents have a lot of money and they're off kind of doing their own thing, it seems like, with all of the things that money can afford. And then they give the child a trust fund to kind of try to make up for what they know they should have done once they reach a certain age. But anyways, so then I moved down into his town, San Pedro. So he's showing me around a little bit, and we're taking some rides together. And so we took one ride up through Venice Beach, and I forget why. Maybe it was thirst. You get tired, or you get thirsty on a motorcycle with the helmet, and it's hot out. And this is Los Angeles, California, so it's always pretty nice weather. And so I'm like, oh, my mom and my stepdad live a couple blocks away. Let's stop by and we can get a couple bottles of ice cold water. So we do that. And when I show up, I call my mom and I say, yeah, me and my friend are right out front, and we wanted to just stop by and see if we could get some water. So she brings out 2 bottles of cold water, and I saw this look of concern, or look of like, how can I manipulate this new individual? How can I get some benefit out of what's taking place? He has this new friend. I've never heard anything about him. I've never met him. How dare my child? They're so insecure. And so sure enough, she asked me to run inside and get something for her. And so I'm gone several minutes, 3, 4, 5 minutes. And when I come back, then they seem very friendly all of a sudden. So we sit there and we drink our water for another 4 or 5 minutes, and we're gone. And when we stop somewhere and pull over, he mentions, wow, what a great mother you have. I think he literally felt, this guy dated older women, and he literally felt like my mom was coming on to him. He was so enamored with her. And he, at that time, was dating a woman that was like 15 years older than him. And here he's like my age, like 53. So that's like approaching 70. So that's a little strange, but that's what he was into. I think he thought that my mom was coming on to him. And he was like, your mom is just so gracious and good and like warm. She is really a kind of, felt like I was the only person that existed in the world in those 3 or 4 minutes you were grabbing something from the inside. I like your mom. Sure enough, I just barely get home from the motorcycle ride and I get a phone call. I don't feel comfortable with him. Is he like, what's his story? He seems strange. And it's like, man, I've been dealing with this my whole life. They don't think you can see patterns. They don't think you have enough brain power to add 2 plus 2. But when you really understand what's going on, and it's extreme to the 10th degree insecurity, you got to kind of feel sorry for them, because that look of my mother's when she first stepped outside and saw me with this person was the look of a deer in the headlights. Like, how am I going to play this? I've got to get in the middle of these two people and tear it asunder, because he might be able to find, a confidant. He might be able to go to this person and complain about how his family treats him and manipulates him and gaslights him and blah, 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 blah. How can I get this situation to benefit me? And you just start to see that all the time. The friends always say, wow, what great parents you have. And then your parents always say, what a terrible derelict you brought home the other day. And it's like just being caught between this scenario that just plays out over and over and over and over. So just something that I don't know where it came from, but it came to mind. And I thought I would share it with you. So leave a hit on the like or leave a comment. God bless you. I love you. Praying for everyone on my channel. God bless.